Creating a decent and functional home is an everlasting business. Just like in the garden, it is never finished. It can be only stopped for a while. I agree, there are very good specialists and handymen who can do their job very well. But they have some unpleasant habits. They send the bills. They have the same working hours as we are, so we must take a day or two off to let them in. They can be stuck in the traffic, get a baby, or burn out, or whatever. The big repairs, which demand very special skills and very special equipment, I leave to the specialists. But the odd jobs of finishing or painting, I prefer to do myself. Today I am going to putty up the slits. We had these plywood sheets placed recently. I've told you about it before. You see, not everywhere they fit perfectly. That is normal. The sheets were cutted straightly, but the walls and the floor are never 100% straight. As a result, there are slits, and the slits must be filled. I wait to clean the sheets and start with removing the pencil marks with a gum. This is the only efficient way to get rid of them. Do not try to do it with water and soap. It will get only worse. Then I egalize the edges with a sand sponge very slightly to avoid scratches. And now the real job. I need a filler, of course. I use a ready-to-use paste wood filler for indoors. There are different kinds of wood fillers. The powder fillers you must mix with water. They're cheaper and they say that you can store them longer. Not true. In every storage place there is humidity in the air, and after some time this powder absorbs the humidity, becomes hard and completely useless. You can find the wood fillers packed in a pot or in a tube. I choose the pot because if I have some filler rest on my trowel, I can put it back in a pot. But I cannot do it if it comes out of a tube. I'm not going to paint my plywood, so I use the filler of the matching color. I also need a putty knife, a trowel, and, very important, a bucket with soap solution, a bowl, a sponge, a floor cloth, and newspaper. Do not throw away this piece of paper. It prevents the filler from drying. This filler looks like pate. I take as much as necessary to fill in the slit. A little for a narrow and a bit more for a wider one. Very important that the filler is just at the very edge of the putty knife. I keep it at a slight angle and bring the filler just in the slit as precisely as possible. Start always from above and continue downwards. And now I make my finger wet, very wet, and smooth the filler in the slit. Do not press, just slightly move until the joint looks nice. Afterwards, clean the edges with a sponge. I keep my putty knife and trowel clean. As soon as the crumbles of the filler start become a bit harder, I make my tools clean and dry them. Look what happens when they are too wet. Bloops! The slits wider than a half centimeter. I must feel first. Sounds funny. Feel before feeler, or feeler for feeler. In the do-yourself shops, they sell the special tape made of sponge to fill the wide slits. It is not only expensive, but absolutely useless. Some way or another, it always comes out of the slit after the filler dries out, and you get an ugly knop in the joint. Newspaper. Easy to apply, efficient, and cheap. Check if it stays in the slit and not above. Good. The filler for the filler is filled, and now the filler itself. The filler does not fall and disappear between the sheets, but fills the slit between them. Finish with wet fingers and the sponge. Done. The rest of my pate goes back in the pot. I get rest of it together. Cover this with piece of paper, sprinkle it with water and cover on the pot. Like this it will stay good very long, some years for sure. I'm ready for now. First I must paint the ceiling and the walls in this room, and afterwards I'll finish the rest.